Hola, ¿qué tal? Yo soy Héctor Guerrero del Laboratorio de Juegos del Centro de Cultura Digital y seguimos con las Mermelada Bits dentro de la Gigacé de México Sin Fronteras de la Global Game Jam Online 2021. En esta ocasión les traemos una entrevista muy especial a cargo de nuestro amigo Antonio León de Navegando en Videojuegos. Es una entrevista en inglés, al estudio Dos Awesome Guys de Eslovaquia. Están invitados Chris Wolf y Frank Mayer. Espero que lo disfruten. Corre cámara.
¿Qué tal, viajeros? Yo soy Tommy, Antonio León, soy director de Navegando en Videojuegos. Me pueden encontrar tanto en YouTube como en Facebook como Navegando en Videojuegos y en Instagram y en Twitter como Anthony Justo. Y pues nada, aquí me encuentro muy contento porque voy a estar aquí acompañando a mis amigos del Global Game Jam Online 2021 de la Gigacé de México Sin Fronteras. Obviamente del laboratorio de juegos. Y ustedes se preguntaron, oye, Tommy, ¿por qué te invitaron? ¿O qué estás haciendo ahí con ellos? Bueno, sin más que decirles, la verdad es que estoy aquí porque voy a ayudarlos en una entrevista, híjole, con unos invitados muy especiales, muy especiales. Estos invitados, pues, son de un estudio desarrollador independiente de Rumanía, si no me equivoco, de Rumania. Y pues nada, estoy temblando, ¿saben? Estoy muy emocionado, la verdad es que siempre me encanta conocer desarrolladores de la industria y creo que a ustedes les va a gustar un poquito esto. Entonces, bueno, solo quería dar este pequeño intro en español. Obviamente ahorita vamos a hacer el switch a inglés porque tenemos ya los invitados. Nos va a estar acompañando Frank y Chris del estudio desarrollador Dos Awesome Guys, que seguramente, si no les suena en estos momentos el nombre, porque, ¿cómo se llama su logo cuando aparece en el videojuego? Es como muy, tiene como cancioncita, ¿no? Dos Awesome Guys. Seguramente lo ubicarán por títulos como Move or Die, entre otros que han publicado. Entonces, obviamente su título estrella es Move or Die, pero bueno, sin más, aquí ya tenemos a Chris y a Frank, entonces, pues bueno, vamos a proceder a estar con ellos. So, this is the time to talk in English. So, Frank and Chris, it's a pleasure for me to be here with you guys. Thank you very much.
Pleasure is all mine.
Thanks for having us.
So this is my moment to bring a lot of questions for you guys. First of all, I already know you, but I believe that all the developers that are seeing this maybe didn't know you. So my first question is, who are you guys? Who are you guys?
Well, we are Those Awesome Guys. My name is Frank. I do developer relations and scouting at Those Awesome Guys for closing into a year now. Kind of started during this whole COVID thing, so it's been very interesting. Have hardly met my new colleagues, but it's been fun and interesting. Mostly work with Chris anyway. But we're two of the three people on the publishing team currently, and yeah, that's my main focus actually, is focusing on the publishing side of things at TAG.
Okay, and you, Chris? Who are you, Chris?
Frank is pretty right about that. Time was a little bit unfortunate, getting to know everyone, or having to adjust to a new way of working. So I'm Chris, or Christopher Wolf. I'm currently the publishing director at Those Awesome Guys. Been with TAG for over 2 years at this point. And work with Frank, work with Christian, and a bunch of other wonderful folks, mostly based out of Bucharest, Romania, but we are growing to be a little bit more international in terms of where our team members are based out of.
Okay, yeah. Right now, I have your media, your press kit, and I am seeing that your motto or the motto of Those Awesome Guys is, we try to be developers, we will support of as gamers, right? What do you think about this motto that you have right now at your studio?
So for us, I mean, all of us are players ourselves. Otherwise, we would be working in games. Everyone who's working in games knows that you don't work in games because of the money or because of the status or anything like that. We work in games because we enjoy it ourselves and know how it is to enjoy games as well in our free time. So starting off very early in the early days of Those Awesome Guys, Nick, our boss over in Romania, he wanted to make sure that he treated the player base of Move or Die. Back then it was only in the same way that he would want to be treated as a player, meaning there was a a commitment from early on for like free content updates. For as long as there would be content updates, everything would be free for the game, as well as making sure that as many people can enjoy the game as possible with like stable service overall and fun experiences. And that's ever since been our motto, and I think still very much suits the general vibe of this industry. Like, we make games for players and for ourselves.
I believe that's great, guys. That's great. And I have another question. We already know that you are for those awesome guys, and I already know that you have a lot of games that I really like it. But right now, guys, what are you doing right now? Talking about the industry of video games, can you talk about with a little bit more about those awesome guys and the things that you are doing right now?
Yeah, for sure. Or did you want to take it, Chris?
Go ahead.
Yeah, as those awesome guys, we always try to make sure that not just that we want to be the developer that we want to support as a player, but also be the publisher that we would support as a developer. And just going into that, we're just looking around and finding teams that have the same mindset as ours, share the same values as ours, and just want to be part of like their cool creations, and just want to take it like this extra step up in terms of where it could be. 2021 should be our year, I think. Like I said, I've been there for almost a year now. 2020 was interesting, I would say, with the whole pandemic situation. I think by now we adjusted well enough, I would say, that 2021 is looking to be a very interesting year for us so far. So that's some interesting stuff to look forward to for us.
Okay. Chris, you want to add something more about this?
Not too much. I mean, with TAC over the last year, we've been pretty quiet overall.
Yeah.
We've not announced massive things. We haven't released new games per se, but we have a lot cooking up in the background with new platforms, with new titles potentially. We've been working on stuff internally as well as externally. Move or Die is probably never going to stop getting content at this point. We have at least a couple more things coming up in the following months. So lots of what people have seen in the past, as well as a couple new projects that I think everyone internally is pretty excited about getting started.
Yeah, I believe that your main game is Move or Die, right? What I am looking at your website, and I see that you have a lot of other games that I believe that you support or something like that. Other game I believe is Monster Prom, that is a visual novel, no? Why do you choose this game, or what do you want? Why do you choose this game for support? I have a lot of questions about this game.
A good question. So to be very transparent, it was prior to Frank's and my time at those awesome guys. You were still with Utomic. I was still with Indie Mega Booth back then. So we didn't really have an influence on that decision. From what I understand, and I knew Julian, who's the CEO of the company behind Monster Prom, already through like the Mega Booth days, there was a certain understanding that the humor that they were going for in Monster Prom, Nick and the team back then at those awesome guys really vibe with that approach. They enjoyed the approach. Monster Prom is sort of like this merger of not only visual novel, but also party game, dating simulator, a bunch of different things grouped together very well and making like a super fun experience that's grown quite substantially over the last couple of years. And that really just struck a nerve and grabbed the attention of our team members back then. And I'm pretty happy that they took the leap of faith on both sides and ended up working together. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a wonderful project in our portfolio these days.
And we wouldn't be here, honestly.
Fair point. It's a good reminder.
And from those awesome guys, I have a question, because I just hear that you starting making games at a jam, right? Or something like that. So my question is, how did you jump from making video games in a jam to become a publisher?
Many years.
I would say it comes from like a creativity standpoint as well. Like doing jams, I think, is very good for the creative stimulants that you need as a developer, like exploring new mechanics, new way of making games, because you're very confined, like especially when you're talking about global game jam, you're confined to 48 hours in which it's kind of expected of you to create a game. Like, of course, it doesn't matter if you finish it or not, but it's about coming up with new ideas, new approaches, new visual styles, maybe even whether it's physical play or digital play. There's a lot of room for play, which is like the key factor. And I think that kind of is the whole history behind Those Awesome Guys, and mostly Nick's creativity. He started out being a Flash developer, which is unfortunately passed away at the start of this year. Flash, not Nick. And yeah, that's kind of like the whole vibe that we had back then, and that we tried to carry forward.
Okay. I love to know more about all the people that work at this wonderful and beautiful world, you know. And for us as Mexican, I believe that it's so exciting to meet new people and as you as developer, you know. And when you're talking more about Those Awesome Guys, I believe that's awesome. So I have another question at this same line. When you publish or select a video game, what do you choose, or what do you see just to select a video game? Not for Those Awesome Guys. When you try to publish another game, what are you looking for?
That's a very tough question. In general, it's like
just the sense. What
yeah,
I like this. No, I like this idea. Visual novel, dating sim. Maybe it's just fun with friends. What do you look?
It's like the silliest thing I always have to say at some point is like we're looking for that X factor, that the pride. It's like that thing that is hard to explain, but once you get a project in front of you, like whether you see it, whether you get to play it, it's like that one factor or a combination of factor that really sells you on it. It's like, wow, this is mind blowing, this is amazing, and we need to be part of this. As Chris mentioned earlier, like last year we haven't really, or past few years we have been relatively quiet, and that's part of the reason why, is because we're always looking for that X factor, where I would say we're slightly different than most publishers. We're not numbers driven, like, hey, we need to sign and release like 5 new games in a year. Maybe at some point Nick will be like, hey guys, can you please sign a game? But yeah, we're in this state where we have this luxury, I guess, where we can be a bit more picky. And we're definitely looking for a game that has the vibe like a Monster Prom, where it's just, this pitch is just amazing. It's like competitive dating simulator. It's like, what? It's like the head turner that people immediately have. And that's kind of what we're always looking for in terms of projects. And that makes it super hard to describe what also would make an intriguing game for us, because it doesn't matter anymore what genre it is. It's just that X factor, that head turner, where you're like, wow, this is something else. Like, this is not something I've seen before, or just executed so flawlessly that we just have to be on board. And yeah, that's kind of it, really. And as a team, we're very much it's a team decision always. It's not me or Chris saying, hey, we should sign this game because it's cool, and the rest is like, we don't really see it. It always needs to be this team decision, or like, hey, are we all on board with this? Are we all equally excited about this game as I am, or as Chris is? I think that's definitely a power, and also sometimes a bit scary, because if we get like 200 games pitched and we don't sign anything, like I think we did last year, I think we got like 200-300 pitches. Yeah, that makes it, what are we actually looking for? But yeah,
the X factor.
Yeah, the X factor, just that excitement, and then also the people behind the game being super excited and willing to have this close collaboration. That's kind of, yeah, that's kind of the dream that we're chasing, I guess.
Okay, I believe that's so exciting, or I don't know how to say, just the X factor that you as developers and, you know, as publishers, just looking at this thing, or I don't know how to say X factor. I don't know how to translate this, but you're seeing more than the thing that everyone sees, right? You are looking for something else. And one other important thing that you say is that it's not only one person on your team that chooses the game. It's a decision for a team. And I believe that was awesome, you know? Continue with Yeah.
Can we have like a counter for the amount of times you say awesome? Because
Yeah. Because you're that has some guys. Yes. Sorry. I would try to choose another word.
it's okay.
Don't worry about it.
We internally always say like sorry for the pun, but awesome.
and well, I really know that your main game is Move or Die. So talking at the same line, I have another question that maybe changed a little bit about that. How do you choose a game and these kind of things? But why do you continue bringing more DLC to the game? Why do you decided, okay, we have already this game, but we continue to make new experience about the same game? When you choose to do that, or why do you choose to do that? And I believe that Chris already said this, but I believe that this is free content, right? Why do you choose to do that?
So for Move or Die specifically, one thing that we've seen over, I believe now 26 free content updates since the early access launch in 2015, is that people just continue to come back for new content. Like Move or Die is a multiplayer party game. It's not necessarily the type of game that you would expect for people to just revisit years afterwards and continue coming back and then hopefully enjoying as well. But due to the regular content updates that we've implemented into the game, as mentioned, like 26 at this point, plus 160 patches or so to get things fixed up and everything, people come back, people tell their friends repeatedly about the game, and at the end of the day, even with a free content update, we end up making revenue because the game will be on sale while an update is released, maybe at 75% off, but still new people discover the game due to that visibility that we get through a new content update. So while we might not necessarily be making any money off of existing players, which is fine from my point of view, we are not losing money. And that at the end of the day, we love games, we enjoy making games. It's a business. We also need to make sure that we stay afloat and also make back our money somehow. And for Move or Die, that's still the case, especially if we're looking at new platforms or some business deals that I can't go into big detail here. A regular content strategy of like new things coming up every couple of months, and therefore ensuring a game doesn't die out, but people come back for the game experience, is a really good argument that people enjoy. Like people like to have even the idea of new content every once in a while makes them exciting as a player, but also as like a business partner and for us as developers, because no matter what kind of like crazy ideas we might have, there will potentially in the future be a chance to also implement those at some point, which is quite fun to think about. We've had some ridiculous ideas over the years that we pitched and they didn't go anywhere, of course. That's how things happen. But some others that I personally wouldn't have expected to even be possible due to like licensing or implementation and the work effort needed, ended up making it into the game. And that's super exciting from like a developer standpoint altogether.
Okay, and I have another question, because I already know that you have a lot of collaboration at your game. Like I really remember the Rick and Morty DLC pack, and you have a lot of collaboration from streamers and a lot of people that just bring the voice for your game and this kind of thing. So my question is, talking about collaboration, how about the biggest concept, how this is so much important to your game, about talking about collaboration? What is the importance about collaboration into your games?
The way I typically, or Frank, if you want to take it,
you're mostly doing the business deal, so I'm totally fine with you taking it.
So the way I see it, not only for games, but typically across media, is we live in a very busy world. There's dozens of games releasing every week on Steam, on Switch as well at this point. You have thousands of new music artists popping up every other day. There's new TV shows and movies. There's just this overflow of information. So chances are, rather than getting attention from a new audience member by discovering your title through visibility across one of the platforms mentioned, or what other communication channels we might have, like social media, the chances of like an actual collaboration leading to a fan of Move or Die checking out Rick and Morty, or Rick and Morty fan checking out Move or Die, probably the later, to be fair, in many cases, are significantly higher than gambling on potentially getting some visibility by sheer luck or by some other type of promotion. That's one factor. The other factor for us is we're also pretty big fans of Rick and Morty internally at the company. Like, that whole deal was put together by, again, our boss, Nick, years ago. And I'm not sure how much I can go into detail, but he really wanted this to happen. He had an idea. They conceptualized it. They pitched it to their point of contact. And through like persistency and good arguments and like a cool pitch, they managed to score it at the end of the day. And I think that helped out the game quite significantly, as well as just our vision internally to do this more often. We recently finished one of those like pitching rounds. I had an idea that I really wanted to get done for Move or Die. Fortunately, in that case, our partner or our potential partner didn't end up being as convinced by the idea as we were, which is totally fine. And that happens with branding opportunities. But it won't stop us from like trying it again in the future with something else, just because we want to also work with brands and IPs that we enjoy ourselves. And gaming is a cool multimedia form where that luckily is possible. Like, if you're a musician, chances are you're probably not going to be able to collaborate with like a big video game unless you're Marshmello or Travis Scott or one of the big folks that are currently doing stuff. But from the game perspective, it's so easy to find a really cool, natural way of integrating something into your game. So why not make use of that opportunity and potentially even give yourself a little bit more visibility through that?
I really love the thing that you say right now, because you say that if someone closes a door, it doesn't matter for you. You start looking for other doors, for other person, for other collaboration. And I believe that this idea is so important. Just like a developer, as a person, as a musician, or whatever you do with your life, I believe that this is an incredible idea, just to keep looking for the thing that you are going to do or contact or whatever. So continue with another question, guys. What are you doing to make a successful game? What are you doing to make a successful game?
That's a loaded question, I guess. I mean, success for a game, there's so many factors tying into that. It's like having that idea that really attracts people, that really gets people excited about it, is one thing, but it's also about the execution. And that's also always where I think a publisher or at least a partner can be very helpful, where we look at it from a different perspective. We can see things that the developer might have missed. It's about improving the game to a point where you didn't think it could go. Like, this was already a great vision, but just like that extra step on top of it. And then tying that together with the black box that people call marketing, community building. I mean, all those things. It's so much a team effort to make a game successful. That's always the thing when you're a solo developer or a small team. It's so hard to pull off in a good way. And that's one of the things where I feel a bit sad sometimes that we can't work with more people, because it's very much about helping developers get out there, get the game noticed, getting success, and just making a sustainable industry. So yeah, that's, like I said, it's kind of like bringing everything together and create something good. It's so hard.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because I don't know how many people you have at your team. But here at Mexico, I believe that a bigger team, or I believe that we are talking about, I don't know, 3 or 5 people, you know? And in your team you have, I don't know, 20 people? Or
roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's a bigger team for us in comparison, or something like that. So
yeah, it's about having we have a dedicated marketing team, community building. We have artists on the team. It's like everything combined, which you generally don't have the luxury when you're starting a studio, unless you are well funded or you come from money yourself, which we don't assume many people are. So yeah, you're kind of always having to handle like multiple hats, where you're like, hey, I'm doing this stuff. Hey, today I'm doing marketing. Oh, I guess today I do the finances because bills need to be paid, which is a lot of work. And I don't envy developers that have to take on so many hats, but I am proud of people actually pulling that off. And it's a cool thing to see, but it's so tough.
Yeah, difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, I have more questions for you guys. Talking about the marketing perspective, what do you think that is the most important thing in a video game? You already talk about the X factor that you are looking at in a video game, but talking about the marketing perspective, what do you think that is the most important thing in a video game?
So this will not satisfy your question necessarily, but to be
Okay.
innovative for me is the key thing in 2021 or 2020, 2021, and the future beyond that. We're in a market that's incredibly saturated. It's not going to get easier in the near future or even distant future. Subscription services are booming, and that's going to, in the long run at least, make things a little bit more trickier if you're selling your game independently. So having that factor within your game, no matter what it might be, that makes it distinguish itself enough from its competition to really stand out, can be game design that makes the game approachable, can be certain integration into like one of your bigger platforms that's worthwhile, or that will be worthwhile because you get some increased visibility from that platform, can be a collaboration with even a streamer. Like there's been some games in recent years, like PewDiePie branded games, which you may or may not enjoy, but at the same time, it's visibility that gets added into the experience, oftentimes on mobile. And these separate factors that aren't yet necessarily being talked about at GDC or other industry conferences, because not too many people have them yet on their radar, really bring an opportunity to stand out from the crowd. Like when there's a specific topic that everyone is advising for or advising you to do as part of their talk, as part of their lectures, as part of their Twitter threads where they talk about their experiences, in some cases it's already too late because literally everyone will bounce on that opportunity and try to copy it or adapt to it. But being at the forefront and not afraid of trying out something new, that may or may not fail, but if it doesn't, you will be like 2 steps ahead of everyone else in that particular field, I think is super worthwhile to consider. And obviously, depending on your funding situation, sometimes that's just not something you can do. If you're in that fortunate situation, I would think outside of the box, not look at what's been working well for people in the past, but what's something that no one has tried yet so far. And a couple of years ago, that might have been TikTok. Now, over the next coming months, we're going to see, and I'm a big fan of TikTok, don't get me wrong. Frank knows about that, and I annoy everyone within the team about TikTok. But a couple of years from now, we'll be in a situation where probably everyone has their Twitter account as a company, everyone has their Instagram account, and everyone has their TikTok account. So make sure to get on something soon, earlier than everyone else, and sort of ride that wave until it's gone, and then move on to whatever else might be next. That's how the internet works in most cases.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about experimentation as well. And then I think as well, if you're looking for like player-focused marketing, it's a lot about the visual package and how you present that. What Chris talks about is oversaturation. When you're, for example, using an art style that everybody else is already using, it's very hard to stand out to a player. Like, okay, but I've seen this before. Like, literally 10 games on Steam that are coming out in a month from now look almost the same, which is a hard thing as well. Like, you can't innovate all the time on visual styles, but like GIF-based marketing has been such a thing on social media. If you look at a game like Ooblets, who did a marketing-first approach, which was super smart. They just started posting GIFs about what they were working on, and people just piled onto that, and that exploded and turned into a game, which then they sold to Epic exclusivities. It's all those kind of things, as Chris mentioned, just being in the forefront of stuff, trying things out, and not being afraid of failing at things as well, which I think is a very important thing. Just try a lot of stuff. Of course, don't go bankrupt trying all of these things. Be smart, but failing a lot. And it's like, what was it, Edison, who didn't fail 100 times or 99 times in making a light bulb, but he actually succeeded the one time. It's like, yeah, it's a bit like that.
Just try it again and again and again until you have your game, right?
Yeah, and if something is not working, I've spoken to a lot of developers who just had, okay, we have several prototypes in production. Let's put all of them out there, like different periods, see which one gets the most traction, whether that's on YouTube, on Twitch, or on Twitter or other social media, and just kind of going with that, because it's such a marketing driven thing right now, where if you can't get eyeballs on your game, it's very hard to turn that around before you launch.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I believe that you say a lot of cool things right now, and I have more questions. I believe that we already reached the time, but I have a little bit more questions. So another thing is, you know that the last year and this year maybe was some different for working for everyone around the world. So how do you doing the last year and this year? How do you adapt for these times to work about talking about the video games? How do you adapt to these situations?
That's definitely one for Chris to answer, because I literally joined the publishing side of things during the pandemic, so I can't say anything, because for me this is the norm right now. This has been my normal.
Okay, what do you think, Chris?
It definitely took some time to adapt. I mean, we're luckily in a industry where everything is digital anyways. So we had our Discord rooms already set up. It was just a matter of transitioning from talking very rarely on Discord to permanently only talking on Discord. We were already sort of an international team, so now communication actually just went smoother with all the other international folks that were based out of Hungary or Sweden or the US. And gaming-wise, I mean, for us this year, luckily, we're very fortunate to be in this position. People were at home and people were playing games. So sales-wise and revenue-wise, I think the games industry overall wasn't wasn't in as tough of a position as many other industries were. Now, on a personal level, sure, was very different this year to work. Couldn't meet your colleagues anymore. Hired Frank at the beginning of the year. I was really looking forward to hang out with him. That didn't work really out that well, and now we're in different countries even. So looking forward to hopefully future bringing some more connections again. And for me personally, like 2019, I was on the road for about 280 days altogether, either at conferences or traveling for personal reasons, meeting developers, meeting local industries, and then going from like 280 down to, I think I still traveled for like a couple of weeks in like January, February, but afterwards that wasn't really a thing anymore. Has been an interesting transition. I think overall, yeah, we can't complain. We're very fortunate to be in this industry. So hopefully 2021 will just bring some change towards the end of the year and we can hang out again at conferences.
Okay, and right now you're talking about connections, right? That you do a lot of connections, and maybe you continue doing that. You have a lot of people in your team that work in at different countries, as you say. I think so. So another, and I believe that this question is so cool for people, for Mexican developers. So you say that maybe you have the intention to work with more people, right? If you're talking right now with developers at Mexico, what do you say to these developers if these developers want to work with you? What do you say to these developers if they want to work with you? Advice, or I don't know, whatever you say, you think that is a good idea just to say to Mexican developers.
In general, I think have faith in what you're working on. I think is an important thing because pitching to publishers in general, I think, is a hard thing. I talk to so many people who've been on the pitching circuit for like half a year or longer, trying to get their game signed by different publishers, and it happens quite a lot. Or actually having to go like, well, either we have to do it ourselves, smaller scope, stuff like that. But if you think your project is awesome, haha, now I did it.
One more.
Just believe in yourself and have people surrounding you that believe in you too and in your vision and want to support you. It's a thing as well, like when you talk to people at publishing, like everybody is very friendly, very helpful, and even if we don't end up working together, we can still try and find a way, like, hey, maybe we can introduce you to a friend at another publisher, or hey, have you considered talking to this person? I got in contact in November with a Mexican former co-founder of Hyperbeard, And we've been talking a lot, like exchanging, like, hey, I've been talking to this developer and he's looking to consult with some people. Like, oh, if you talk to this person, and he's like exchanging the favor back, like, hey, this project might be cool for you, and it's things like that. Just being open-minded, being friendly, helping other people. Which I think in the end, it's karma. It comes back, and if you're doing it in a positive way, it comes back in a positive way. But yeah, I think going back to what I initially said, just believe in your project and surround yourself with positive people. I think that's for me very important, at least.
Okay, and maybe this question is a little bit the same, but as I already said, here I'm pretty sure that a lot of Mexican developers are seeing this. So, what do you recommend for all these developers, for the newest ones and for the veterans? Talking about Mexico, what is your advice for these developers that are starting at the industry and the veterans?
For people just starting out, and I think that actually goes for veterans as well. I think it's always talk to other developers, get input, outside input, especially also outside of your circle. In a lot of countries, like the gaming scene is very close knit because you see each other at maybe at events, on a forum, or through any other. Like there's a local Discord group, so it's very good to go outside of that and talk to other people. And that's the thing, like with everybody being on social media, like I said, a lot of developers are on Twitter. Yes. So it's just an easy thing, just sending a message to somebody, start up a conversation, talk to people, get advice, get connections. Don't be in it for that, of course, but just connecting with other people, getting feedback and exchanging ideas. I think that's always like a valuable thing to achieve, to pursue.
Okay, what do you think, Chris? Another advice for you, Chris?
First of all, I very much agree with Frank. I think I've never learned as much in this industry in as short of a period of time than by talking to other people. Super valuable. I had the struggle at the beginning where I felt like I was asking too many questions that might bother someone. But at the end of the day, like all of us have been through that process. So asking questions is supernatural and the smartest thing you can do in learning from others, no matter how long you've been part of this industry. On the other side of things, let me see if I have any other advice. It's tricky to find someone that's like universally works out for whoever you're talking to. For me, I think a point I'd like to reiterate upon is that thinking outside of the box. I think it's going to get more and more important. No, I'm not only talking about TikTok here, but many other avenues or platforms for both business deals as well as marketing will pop up in coming years. We've already seen like a transition away from Facebook per se, because it's just not sort of like held up to the same form of engagement that we're seeing now on Twitter these days, or Discord, and then as well as on TikTok these days. And keeping an open mind and always looking ahead at what might be the next trend is something I consider, no matter how long I've been part of this industry, and no matter how confident you are in your skill set. If you were to have been stuck with your same opinions for 20 years now, because you've been in games for like 30, and after 10 years you thought to yourself like, hey, I've learned everything, I don't need to progress any further. Well, 20 years ago, social media wasn't really the biggest thing out there. So things certainly change.
And going into that, like game industry, I think is one of the fastest changing industries. So keeping the same mindset is not a good thing. Like if I look at some veteran developers that might have been in the industry already in the 90s, in some cases, they didn't stay up to date, and they just fallen behind. They might be rich now, which is good for them. Like I'm happy for them, but they're not part of like what I currently consider the industry, and having that expertise to carry over to like the new generation of developers. Because I think things change, as Chris mentioned. Like, you need to be aware of that always.
Yeah, like you say, at social media or whatever, or ideas, just think out of the box. As you say, Chris, I believe that's a cool idea. And I just want to say that time fly when you have fun, you know. and I believe that maybe I can do more questions, and maybe we can have, I don't know, an hour or 2 hours or whatever, because we are talking about one of the things that we are really love, you know, video games and to be in the industry. And now these things, you already talk about those awesome guys and your job and advices for developers. And I believe that for me, that's it. So both just to finish this, one last thought that you want to share with all these developers at Mexico and all these people that maybe watch this video. One last thought that you want to share with us, please.
I have a word of encouragement to anyone. I believe this will be shown at the beginning of Global Game Jam, from my understanding. So word of encouragement, enjoy your time, make some cool stuff. I'm not going to swear, some very cool stuff over the coming 96 hours, I believe it is this time around. And yeah, make sure to also talk about it, because at the end of the day, like, sharing is caring doesn't really quite work here. But yeah, visibility is everything. Make sure to talk about your projects, no matter how far along they you manage to push them over the 4 days this year. And hopefully we'll be able to meet post-COVID again. Wear a mask.
Good advice, Chris.
I think for me it's just oh man, I'm gonna use Chris's thing. Don't be afraid to try new things. Think outside of the box. But then, especially in terms of like trying new things, for when you're making a jam game, it's especially important, or it's more fun because you're less constrained by mechanics and things like that. And I think that's why jams are so intensely powerful in creating like maybe the next big indie hit, even, because there's so many people that actually take their jam game and turn it into a commercially successful game in the end as well. And that's just the coolest thing for me always to see. Like, oh, I remember seeing this at the jam, or I saw it on itch and I played the jam version, and oh wow, now they've made a post jam version, and it's so cool and gets a lot of recognition. I think that's the coolest thing for me. Yeah, just the creativity that comes from something like that. And I always want to say, support small creators, play a lot of games, and just talk about them, because talking about things doesn't cost you anything but time. It doesn't cost you money. So share what your friends are working on, things you think are cool. Yeah, just be supportive of each other.
Be supportive. Yeah, I believe that that's so important, even in the indie industry, you know. So guys, can you share with us your social media or a contact for the developers of Mexico, or whatever? I don't know, your social media, whatever you want to, people maybe can contact you.
Oh boy, my social handle is very hard for if you don't type it out, it's gonna be.
No, and maybe we have a banner here, but whatever. Okay. Please share with us your social media.
You can always find me. I have my DMs open on Twitter. You can always message me. It's @_stroopwafel, which is like a Dutch snack that if you meet me at events, you'll know what it is, and you'll know who I am. I think that's also how Chris and I met, probably at some point in the past. He has them.
It's very telling that I have them like within reach on my desk. Frank's influence.
Yes, definitely. And of course, if people want to talk to us on like a publisher thing, or just in general have questions about publishing, game industry, just want to chat, we're always available. So you can either use our personal email address. For me, that's Frank@ThoseAwesomeGuys, and Chris@ThoseAwesomeGuys, or our general pitching @ThoseAwesomeGuys if you want to send over a pitch. Yeah.
Okay. So for you is Chris, right? Your social media, Chris?
It's Chris Wolf _ because some other Chris Wolf out there already took the one without, and I'm really mad about that one. But yeah, Twitter, email, whatever works best. We'll respond as soon as we can. And yeah, looking forward to talking to all of you.
Definitely.
So guys, thank you very much for your time. I'm so excited about doing this, you know. So thank you, Hector, and all the people at Laboratorio de Juegos in Mexico. So I believe that's it for today. So guys, enjoy this jam, and I believe that's it. So thanks again, and see you the next time.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Muchísimas gracias a Antonio, a Chris y a Frank por esta plática y seguimos en las Mermeladas Beats. No olviden seguirnos en nuestras redes sociales, centroculturadigital.mx y Mermelada de Juegos en Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Y continuamos con estas Mermelada Beats dentro de la Gigacé de México Sin Fronteras de la Global Game Jam 2021.
Gobierno de México.